All right, welcome back to Not Weird, Just Homeschooled. My name is Gheramy and Victor, the host of the show. We've been on a bit of a hiatus for the last few months, and that's on me. I've been just super busy with a bunch of different projects. But I'm going to release all these episodes all at once. This way you can just listen to them at your leisure and at whatever pace you want to listen to. Now, there might be parts in the episode where, it sounds like we don't know what we're talking about because, the election's already happened and everything, and it hasn't happened when we recorded these episodes. So it's not that we're uninformed. It's that we don't know yet. So, and they were filmed a bunch of time, a long time ago. So, if you've already heard this portion, you can go ahead and fast forward through it in the future episodes, because I'm just going to add the same thing to every single start of each episode. So as like a little bit of a disclaimer, enjoy it. My name's Gheramy and Victor again, and enjoy the episodes. Get everyone back together.
Yeah, that's scheduling is honestly the worst.
The worst part
for comics.
Yeah, and that's why we became comics, so we don't have to get together with other people. We can work on our craft and do our thing on our own time. We don't have to call. Like, that is one thing I don't miss being in a band for many different reasons, but one of which is having to like wait on everyone else for like just to do anything.
Yeah. I can't imagine having to schedule with somebody who's like, I don't know. It's like dating somebody, and then you have to schedule what you're doing for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But then you have to do that with like maybe like 3 or 4 other people.
Where it's basically you're planning a wedding like every few months or however many times you play shows together.
Yeah.
And especially if you're the band who's headlining, then you have to figure out who's opening and what time everyone's showing up. And
yeah.
So it's kind of like any other show. Honestly, I think it's actually harder to run comedy shows than it is music shows, even though like the amount of equipment.
Really?
Yeah, the amount of equipment is insane.
Yeah, for a music show.
But for whatever reason, comics are the least organized people in the world.
Yeah. I sometimes worry about like getting to shows on time. I was recently doing a club, and even that show started late. Like they had to have it kind of booked at 4:00. Like they couldn't keep pushing it back. It was like an early Saturday show, but they started 15 minutes late. It's everywhere. Every single comedy show I think I've ever done, I don't think I've started one on time.
No. Yeah, I can't think of one that's ever started on time. Not even any of ours.
No. Secret Society?
No, we're always 15 minutes behind.
Yeah. That's good, though.
But it gives everybody time to get there.
Yeah, and to get settled. I love the venues that you have there in halls. There was one in Ohio City, the coffee shop. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
right
Lecco.
Lecco, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. A cool spot.
Yeah, I went there back again during the day just to do more. I was working on my computer, and Lecco's nice during the day too.
Yeah.
The staff was super friendly.
They're the nicest staff anywhere. Anywhere in Cleveland, they're one of the nicest staffs, if not the nicest staff.
I wanted to steal one of their I was going to borrow one of their aprons during my time at Secret Society. Like I was just like asked one of the baristas who was working there, and I just was just like, hey, I think it would be funny if like I went up and on stage and I just acted like a barista. And she's like, have you ever worked at a coffee shop? I'm like, no, but like, how hard could it, and I didn't. I didn't finish that sentence. And I mean, she was like, she was gonna give me her apron, but then I like chickened out, and I don't know. Like, I think it was probably the smart choice to just probably go into my regular set.
Sure.
I haven't not that good at last minute improv.
What was the show you did tonight?
The show that I did tonight was at the Madison for a Snowflake Comedy Club, and then I just popped right over before I got here at High and Dry and did a guest spot for the open mic, and that was they were both really great shows. I mean, like, I love
High and Dry was good?
High and Dry was great. Yeah.
Oh, good.
High and Dry was really good.
That room can be unruly sometimes.
It was getting unruly, and that's what the guy who was hosting tonight was saying. Elliot? No. We just followed each other on Instagram, and
is he an Arab guy?
It's not an Arab guy. This guy's white. This guy is white. He's a little.
Was it Jimmy Killius?
Maybe no. He looks like if like Bill Squire was like lifting heavyweights.
Okay Pants.
Okay
Yeah.
Pants. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those people at first I didn't want to like because he can come across as like, he just kind of, when you first meet him, you're like, oh, look at this fucking bro or whatever.
This guy.
And yeah, and then you get to know him, you're like, this guy's the sweetest dude.
He was. I was just like, hey, I'm out of town. Can you give me like 5 minutes? I just wanted to jump at the end. Because they had already announced that Gabe was going to be the last comedian of the night. And I just, I said, I'm not done yet. I got to do one more set. I love High and Dry, and he was very nice. He introduced me. The crowd was a little bit unruly at the beginning, and I kind of got them to quiet down a little bit. I was doing a little bit of my I'm toxic material, and it went over like well enough that like the last time I did that joke, this joke about like getting out of a toxic relationship, and I'm like, oh, I'm the toxic one. There was a woman in the crowd who was just like, fuck you. And like, like people clap for me because they're like, oh, he got out of a toxic relationship. And then I'm like, yeah, it was me. And then this woman was just like, fuck you in the middle of, I was Detroit. She was just like, it was,
she knows your type.
She knows my type. And I was just like, that's my ex, everybody. Yeah, she's here. She's great. And oh man, I love comedy. I love Cleveland. And
how long have you been doing comedy for?
I've been doing comedy now 5 years. I started right before the pandemic. I think it was like February 2019. And yeah.
Wow, what a time to start.
I did some Zoom shows because I remember I did like, I think like 7 shows before lockdown happened, really. And then I went and I was like, I gotta get the fix somehow. And so I did Zoom shows, which were terrible.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I did. I don't know why. Well, I'm sure I did those.
Yeah. Right.
Brutal.
And so this is how I described it for other comics. It's like you're reading a hostage negotiation release letter, and you're like, it's like a proof of life video.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like you're just kind of reading into the void. There's no one. Like sometimes people don't have their mic, their speakers muted, and so you can hear it. Like it's like 5 or 6 seconds after the punchline has already landed.
Sure.
And so you can't like wait, or it's like weird because like, do you wait during a Zoom show for people to laugh? Like it's, unless it's immediate, in front of your face. I feel like it's just not the right medium for stand-up comedy to be over as a Zoom show. It can't be.
It can't be because stand-up is very communal.
Yeah.
It's where you're trying to make your mind into the room's mind. Like you have to get all those people together mentally and get them to have the same rhythm. They're all laughing at the same things. Like you really need to get that room to be one community and that one, however long you're on stage. So to have everybody completely isolated and separate and whatever, like it was a tough time for comedy. I always describe to comics who never got to do those. I was like, have you ever masturbated without coming? That's pretty much what it was like.
So
So you're just like, it's not gonna happen. You
it's
just
not.
give up.
This isn't fulfilling for me anymore. I'm not. There's no gratification. There's not even the dopamine release that you could kind of
Right.
get from. Wow, that's a great analogy too.
I would pretend like there was somebody talking to me on the other side of the screen.
Yeah.
Always.
On
That
the-
was my bit for the longest time.
I think. Oh man, I'm so glad that it's over and that we are like moved back into actual comedy clubs and in front of other people again. And I mean, it's funny that like yeah, right as I was starting, doing open mics, I was so used to the culture where people were just like smoking cigarettes backstage and then sharing cigarettes. And I
During
would
the pandemic?
right before the pandemic, and then it
Oh.
was right before the pandemic, and so I was just like, I would sometimes bum a cigarette or two, and then like yeah, just sharing cigarettes and then sharing drinks, and then yeah, through COVID that kind of got me grossed out. So now I think I think people got really into like bumping fists instead of like shaking hands. That somehow was cleaner, the less transmission
Yeah.
of that.
I bump fists all the time. I
Yeah.
prefer it.
Yeah.
I don't like hugs. I don't really. Handshakes are all right, but it is a little weird.
I'll do hugs.
You're a hugger?
I'm a hugger. I had to be my parents had to explain to me that like not all people like hugs. Like I came from like a very like affectionate family. It was very like large Latino get-togethers like during the holidays, and so I was just like hugging. Like I was living in Wisconsin, and I was hugging like all these like other kids, and I was like, people didn't like that. People liked their space in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And that was
That's
kind
why
of
they
fun.
live in Wisconsin.
That's why they live in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah. They wear parkas. They never actually have to touch at all.
No. You ever notice too that sometimes like Midwest minds move a little slower than other places? It seems like if you ask a crowd a question, you're not gonna get, if you're like in a major city, let's just say for the sake of conversation, New York, Chicago, or LA.
Okay.
You shoot something out of that audience, they're
Fast.
fast.
Yeah.
And my theory is because they move to those places for a reason. Like,
yes.
they're ambitious. They move there. This isn't their home. They are trying to make this work. Where when you live and work and in the place where you grew up, your mind doesn't need to be as quick. You're not being challenged that often.
I think that people in the city are kind of used to like more sporadic and chaotic life. I was, I'm originally from Chicago. I visited Chicago a couple months ago. It was in April, and some guy started yelling on the train, and I was the only one who was like kind of shocked by it. Everybody else was like in their own zone, and it was a homeless guy who was like getting into a fight with another homeless person, and I was like, good heavens, like
Right.
I was afraid, and I'm like, oh man, I really lost that city in me. Like I have no street cred. I have no, like I'm moving back, but like it's like, it's already been gentrified now for me.
Oh yeah, it's wild going to Chicago right now. Because yeah, it's definitely not what it was even like 15 years ago.
No.
Yeah, it's very strange. Well, I mean, even New York's the same way. Like I have family in New York, so I've been going to New York since I was a child, and I hadn't been to Bay Ridge, Brooklyn in a long time. It probably had been like 10 or 15 years, and I had to go there last year, and I was like shocked at just how much that neighborhood changed.
Yeah.
And it was just odd to kind of go see things that were familiar to you,
Yeah.
but no, they don't. None of it has the same feel to it.
Yeah, I guess I was so used to, so like I'm moving back to a place that my family used to live at. It's called Bucktown. That place used to be filled with like Puerto Ricans, and there used to be like sweet bread stores like on like every kind of corner, and now I'm moving back there, and there's very fancy restaurants and boutiques there, and and it's crazy that the only Latinos that I see are kind of like working in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh no, like who am I gonna practice my Spanish with? Like Duolingo is not cutting it for me. I moved back to this city for the culture, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit.
Are you bilingual?
I'm not bilingual like where
You're fluent?
I'm fluent. If you drop me off in the middle of Mexico, I would survive. And like I learned Spanish through university and school, and I practice it at home with my mom. But like it wasn't like she like taught me that. Like there was no reason to, because I started school in Wisconsin and then moved to Ohio, and so it wasn't like it was like necessary
Are your
at all.
parents immigrants or are they here?
No, they're from Chicago as well. Like we're like multiple generations, like or depending on which way you go. Like I have a grandparent. My grandpa, he is from Ecuador, and his English is fine. I mean, like when I speak Spanish with him, he'll switch on over. It's because it's just easier for him. But then I'll have to get him to eventually start speaking English again, because if he speaks too much Spanish, like it's too fast for me, and yeah, my vocab is kind of is getting worse, not having the practice.
Grandparents on my mother's side, there were Arabs, and they were Lebanese.
The
and
beard,
they
the beard.
did not want us to learn Arabic.
Why not?
Because they were worried about it.
What? Okay.
Because my grandmother was born in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was born in Lebanon,
Mm-hmm.
but they grew up here.
All right.
But when they grew up here, their parents, it was very important to their parents that their children spoke English and spoke it well. And it didn't matter to them that they didn't speak Arabic very well.
So your grandparents' parents wanted your parents to speak Arabic, but
my grandparents' parents did not want their kids to be very fluent.
Oh, okay.
But enough where they can communicate.
Okay.
But not, and so when my grandmother had my mom, she made sure that like none of us knew how to like.
Wow.
It was very important to her that none of us knew how to speak Arabic.
Okay.
Even though she was Catholic, and so we'd go to the Malachite Catholic Church, and they spoke a lot of the stuff in Arabic.
Wow.
So I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about.
Arab Catholics, then they were. But they were speaking the sermons in Arabic, not in like Latin.
Nope.
Wow.
In Arabic. Yeah, it was wild.
I would love to attend that church.
Anytime you want, my friend. St. Elias
Can
Church.
we please?
Memphis Road.
Memphis?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not far from... where were you doing comedy at?
So recently I went on the road and I was doing it in Austin. I was performing in Austin.
Oh, I meant like tonight.
Oh, tonight. Tonight I was at the Madison and then at High and Dry.
Madison. Where
The Madison is on Payne Street. It's kind of on the east side, very close though to downtown. It's not even that far. It's a wedding venue. It was run by the Snowflake Comedy Showcase, and the venue was so cute. The whole place was organized super well, and I stayed the first time I was in Cleveland. Actually, I stayed in an Airbnb like right down that area.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Because I thought because she normally does shows in Old Brooklyn, which is where I live, which is where that church is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought I was trying to make those connections happen.
Okay. Yeah. No. It's all right. Cleveland. I love Cleveland. The fact that like when I guess it started off, there were each separate communities, and they all kind of stuck to themselves, and so that there's all these little downtown areas that are now like Tremont. Tremont was what? It was the Russian or Greek,
Ukrainian.
Okay,
Greek and Ukrainian.
Greek and Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I see some of the like the Greek Orthodox church that we have here.
Or even this building is called the Ukrainian Labor Temple. It was built in 1927.
That is
awesome. And this place was like an event space. So, they would host like debutante balls, concerts.
Wow.
They'd play movies here. They'd do plays here.
Wow.
First communions, like anything that involved being like a gathering or an event. Like this is actually where we're at. We're in the projection room. So there's like little beyond the door here. There's like little slots you can see where they would like raise them up, and then they would have the projector
Yeah.
play out of that, and then there's a stage in like the office area.
This is the coolest studio. I love it.
It's a cool building, and it's got a lot of history to it. And but like this neighborhood in and of itself has had its ups and downs, and all. I think this is. I don't know. I don't want to say this is the best it's ever been because that's a little weird.
Maybe when they made it, or
Yeah, because there was this was a very like this was a very high concentration of immigrants in this area, so that was kind of nice, like especially if you're around Greeks, like the food was very similar. So you go to the Greek festival and you know a lot of the food that's there.
Yeah.
But they do fuck up baklava. They make baklava wrong. And my best friend George Spanos, he's Greek. And so we constantly argue about baklava.
I love that. I love just two hairy men talking about, no, this is how the baklava is supposed to be done. That is a dangerous conversation between Lebanese and Greek.
We're very passionate about baklava.
I can't even imagine how loud you must get. Wow.
I was like, you Greek bastards are so cheap.
Yeah. Oh.
You guys that's what, you can't spring for a pistachio? What the fuck's wrong with you guys? It's a quality nut. You guys went with walnuts? It's bullshit. I'm getting worked up now.
I know. And I know we've got a little bit more to go on this, but I think I kind of like it without so many pistachios. I don't think I like pistachios that much. I just don't think I like nuts all that much. It's the texture for me.
Yeah.
But all baklava is so good.
It is.
I mean,
the honey is really what sets it off. If you know how to get the ratio of butter to honey on that that crust flakiness, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
But then then everyone has the conversation whose mother has the best baklava.
Yeah. I used to date a girl. Her mother would make baklava, and I would beg her to make baklava all the time, and she made it 2 times a year, and she promised me though it would be all the time. She's like, "Oh, I'll make baklava the next time you're over here," and that was just kind of a loose promise because they never had me over at the house. but so she's just like, "Oh, next time you're here," and sometimes that would work because it was only she'd make it twice a year. I'd be on over there 4 times a year, and so she wasn't wrong.
She made it half the time.
She made it half the time.
That's
the time
a good ratio.
Yeah.
So it was a 50-50 chance you were showing up and there was going to be baklava.
It was a 100% chance that she was not going to be happy that I was there. so yeah.
My wife's parents I think they're now coming around.
Yeah.
With me. But my wife and I have been together 11 years, and they're now just being like, "Hey, he's okay."
Oh no, that's tough. Do you have kids? Or? No.
No kids.
Okay.
No plans to have children. My wife is an IUD, and
yeah.
And I have vasectomy, so we got 2 goalies playing the same goal.
Okay, absolutely. So you guys have planned. So probably not
gonna happen. Yeah,
that'd be very bad.
It'd be weird.
It would be very weird. It'd be a miracle.
Yeah, it really would.
It'd be the second Jesus.
It would be an immaculate
conception.
Yeah, conception. I couldn't even come up with that word.
No, 11 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. And so where'd you all meet?
We met when don't make this podcast about me because I will take.
Okay, no. Was it during comedy though? Because that's the one thing I gotta ask. Because
she met me before I started doing comedy.
Okay, all right.
But shortly after we started dating, I started doing comedy.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Probably 2 years. How long have I did? No, I guess we'd been together for 4 years by the time I started doing it. Because I've been doing comedy now 7.
Okay.
So, yeah, we had been together 4 years before I started actually doing comedy, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. She thought it was an asshole when we met. when we met, we worked together, and I kind of got brought on to that restaurant too because I worked. So I worked for Melt,
Yeah.
and Melt had multiple locations.
Okay.
And that location was having a very hard time with front of the house, back of house relations.
Yeah.
And so the owner, I don't know what he was thinking, he brought me in to help him trying to build a better work culture
Oh, wow.
between the front of the house and back of the house. Because I've never heard people talk to each other like this in my life. They were so shitty to each other. Both sides. It was
Yeah.
there was no right or wrong. They're both shitty to each other.
Yeah.
And I've never and I worked for Mel at that point, like 5-6 years. And, coming from the Lakewood location, we're all like best of friends. So that was a huge shock to me because I was like, how bad can it
And they're
be?
just swearing at each other.
Yeah,
There's
like,
a bunch of people.
fuck you, you're a piece of shit. Or
Yeah.
like, quit being an asshole. And like, it was wild.
The way you're describing, I didn't know that it could be another way. I've only worked in like toxic like environments when it's come to like food service.
Really?
Yeah, I worked at a Mexican restaurant, and I got like cussed out by like this little 16-year-old girl that's like she thinks she turned 17 that summer, but I remember she cussed me out because I was like asking to borrow a charger, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I'm not. Like, I don't have a ton of self-respect for myself at the time, but I was like, this is, who do I complain to? Her mom or my boss? Like, she just cussed me out. I'm like, I don't have anything to say back to this little chola.
I mean, to be fair, you're a comic, so you have very little respect for yourself regardless.
Okay, yeah. No. I lied my way onto that job too. They're like, you speak Spanish, right? And I was like, yeah, of course I do.
Yeah.
Of course
Like,
I do.
"Sí."
Working at yeah, por supuesto. And they, never checked any of my references. And so I got hired right away looking like I do at a Mexican restaurant. And so that was great. But yeah, the abuse that I would face sometimes from the line cooks. Line cooks are crazy inappropriate.
Yes.
And there was this one line cook who also like was like co-owner of the restaurant, and just like he was inappropriate like all the time. And
the owner of the restaurant that I worked at, he was a line cook. I met him when he was just a line cook.
yeah.
So, and he used to tell us this like idea for his restaurant where it was like he was only going to serve grilled cheese sandwiches, and he's going to put crazy shit on grilled cheese sandwiches. And we all made fun of him for
Melt. For Melt, and now it's a franchise place, and you're like, son of a bitch.
He did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm proud of him, but but we made fun of him so hard. We're like, this sounds like a huge pipe dream, right? Like,
yeah. I can respect, honestly, making a sandwich shop. When I was a little kid, I wanted to like make sandwiches. That was what I thought was my calling. It was either that or like I wanted to be a Jedi. I was determined to own a sandwich shop or be a Jedi. And so I thought,
still time, my friend. You
still
should
time.
First sandwich / Jedi shop.
Disney beat me to it with the whole make your custom lightsaber thing. That sounds so cool. I want to go to Disney.
That does sound cool.
I'd be there. I want to have a kid just so that it's less weird for me to go. He probably won't even like.
Honestly, it's Disney,
Star
so
Wars.
It's not weird. You're not the only adult there.
Yeah, that's true. Because Universal Studios has all the Harry Potter people, and I'm unfortunately in a lot of fandoms. Like there's Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars.
My wife and I went to the Harry Potter one, and that was fucking crazy. That was so much fun.
Did you have butterbeer?
We did have butterbeer. We were still drinking at the time, too, so that was nice.
Oh, okay. And so it had real booze in it.
Yeah, it was fun.
I've always wondered what it would taste like with real booze. What do you know? What was it? Whiskey? Was it?
It was vodka.
Vodka. Okay, cool.
Yeah, something with no flavor to it. Just like
it just goes down easily.
Yeah.
And then you get messed up and start playing with the animatronics that are there, and you get kicked out.
I stole one of the wands. from the gift shop.
Did you?
Yeah.
Which one did you steal? Did you know?
Automated one.
The autumn. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's where you can go like around the park and like
Oh yeah.
make it do things.
Yeah, yeah. I hear that you can like jailbreak like remotes, like remote controls for TVs and do the same thing. And so I don't know enough about technology to do that. But
Yeah, you can
it
order
looks like
those
so
on
much.
Amazon. I'll get you a link.
Okay. Oh my gosh, yes. I want to go. I want to go.
I have something about that, but I'll have to say that off the podcast. But what was your first job?
My very first job I worked at was I was a camp counselor at a Boy Scout camp,
Nice.
and that was an interesting summer. It was I was like one of the youngest to be on the staff because like you had to be 16 years old, and I turned 16 in the beginning of June, and so like I was getting training, and then like my 16th birthday happened, and so they were able to like give me my lifeguard certification, and then that summer I taught small boat sailing in a very tiny lake. And like there was never any wind, and so it was like small boat sailing, but like every kid got their own oar, and like because they had to paddle,
Right.
and so I was a camp counselor. I was a Boy Scout. I made it up to Eagle myself. But
Wow.
like Boy Scouts was, I remember like that summer being away at summer camp, I got like so sick. I think I got pneumonia that summer. I ended up getting like warts on the bottom of my feet because like I showered one time without shower shoes, and it was just like
Mayhem.
it was terrible. As soon as you remove women from any situation, like the quality of life for men is just negligible. Like we don't care. And so like living all summer with just men, and then a few women that got prettier throughout the time at summer camp. It was like
At
it,
16, that's
at
crazy.
16, yeah. And then I remember that summer, yeah, being away, being at a Boy Scout camp, and then going from like a private school to like a public school that had, you know, 340 per graduating class. I was like, these are the most attractive people I have ever seen. I had we called them camp goggles. It was just like women got more attractive to us like as the summer went by, like beer goggles do.
Sure.
And so it was like camp goggles, and so like going off, it was a weird summer of being a camp counselor for Boy Scouts. Like, cause I shouldn't have been. I don't know. Like,
Did you grow up religious at all?
I grew up. Yeah, I grew up religious enough that like we grew up, I think, Catholic, and then as we moved away from the city, and we didn't find like a church that we always liked, because like not all Catholic churches are the same.
Right.
That's like an interesting thing too, that like, okay, yeah, I'm a Catholic, but then you're like, what type of Catholic?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're like, I'm like Catholic, and there's like a little asterisk sign right there that's like next to it. You're like, I love the gays,
Right.
and everything else, but it's yeah. And so we just moved away. We moved too many times, and then
So there wasn't that like religious, like don't look at women because you got to remain pure type thing going on.
I think like my parents were like kind of just being realistic. They're like, don't. They would always tell me like, don't sleep around or your dick's gonna fall off, and that's where they're at again with me, where like I just recently broke up with my ex, with my girlfriend, and so like now they're like just worried about me like getting around. I'm like, I'm not. I feel too old for that now. Like I don't know. Like I'm kind of getting.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's
You don't have
exhausting.
the energy for it.
No. I'm like I want to be home at like a decent hour. If I'm not going to be doing stand up, there's not like a real reason for me to stay up past like 10:30.
Right.
I easily go home, and like now I'm doing like old people stuff. Like I'm making like pesto from scratch. Like I'm sipping teas. I'm not one of the guys that has
You have
gotten
an
into.
assorted.
I
box of teas?
have different teas. Yes, I have assorted boxes of teas.
Yeah, you're getting old, man.
I have a favorite mug.
Yeah, that's when you know you really kind of like you've really embraced the like the elderly life. Or like, oh, this is who I am now.
I'm fine with. I think it's better. I think it's a better, more chill person. And like the only thing that I don't like is how much like I crack now. I'm just like my knees and my elbows crack. I was visiting my family, and then my parents' dogs. They were just like sitting right next to me on the couch, and as I got up, my knee cracked so loud next to my dog's head that it like startled him from the couch. And like he stepped on the other two dogs getting away.
That's
and I'm
so
like,
funny.
that's unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it did hurt at the same time. So I'm like, I don't know.
Dude, my left knee has been killing me for the last 2 weeks. It hurts so bad.
Yeah.
And
Is it going to be a tough winter? Like what?
I have, yeah, who knows? Something's a brewing around here because I feel it in my bones, Annie.
Yeah.
It just like, but I've done nothing to it
Mm-hmm.
other than I'm old now.
Yeah. You forgot to stretch.
And not even that. It's just like, it just hurts. And that's just how it's going to be from here on out.
Yeah.
Because I'm old.
Yeah. I shouldn't talk too much stuff. I'm only 28 and that's not that bad, but
No.
yeah.
I'm 39 and then things are starting to like, I think I just finally admitted to myself like this last couple of weeks that I'm 39.
Yeah.
Because I don't have children, so
Yeah.
I'm not forced to face my mortality on a daily basis by having children. That's what I think. That's the whole purpose of what children are there to remind you that you are getting older.
I didn't see it as an extension of it that way, but now as an adult child, as somebody's adult son, right? Like I look at my parents, I'm like, oh, they're getting old. And so it's, life is a reflection. Like when you're looking at your parents too, it's the same type of thing where it's just like, oh, so I don't get to see it. Through my own.
My friend was telling me about how he went on a website and it tells you like you put in like your parents' age, what your age is, what their health, like all these questions. And then it tells you how much time you have left with them. Like the frequency.
Oh.
Like how many times.
You see them like a year, like what's your average or stuff like that?
This is how many times left you have.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of stuff like that.
I was like, that is the scariest fucking thing I've ever heard of. I would never go on that website.
It's gut wrenching because like some people only get to see their parents like, all right, maybe 3 times a year because they live in
different states.
Yeah, different states, coast to coast. It's tough. And then so you see them 3 times a year. Another 10 more years, your parents are gone, and so you're only seeing them 30 more times. Like that's wild.
Yeah,
I'm
willing to bet my brother knows about this website, has gone to it, and just went,
Doesn't care. Doesn't care either way. Hasn't called you up.
No.
There's always, yeah.
So I'm going to see our parents 30 more times.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, man.
He lives in Los Angeles now, and so he only gets to see them maybe twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
But he talks to them all the time. Who gives a shit?
It's FaceTime.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Same difference. He probably sees my parents more than I do, and I live in the same state as them.
Okay.
So.
Oh.
My parents and I have a decent relationship.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. It's just I'm a busy guy, and sometimes I get wrapped up into my own bullshit.
This is bullshit.
I live. When you get to be this age and you've been married with one person for so long, you forget that you're not supposed to live your life for yourself.
Yeah.
I've never had to live my life for anyone other than myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Like even my wife is like, I don't know how to put that. Like it's not that I don't like make decisions based, like I include her and I think about her based and when I base a decision.
Yeah.
But I know she's pretty much on board with everything.
Yeah.
So that factors very little.
Okay. That is interesting. Okay. So I'm going through this new experience where it's like for the first time in my life, I will be living by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that like I've never like actually like lived alone. Like I've either gone and when I went away to college, I lived with a roommate. And then when I came back, I lived with my parents for a little bit, lived with an ex. COVID happened, parents. Moved out again, lived with somebody. Now I'm off on my own for the very first time. And so living by themselves and not needing to be held accountable to anybody at all. That's like, you're saying, oh, she's on board for most of it. And then there's like I don't even have anybody to check in on. Nobody's checking in on me. Like, I don't have to check in.
My wife doesn't check in on me ever. No. She's pretty much just like, I'll see you when I see you. Like, she's awesome. She rules. She's the best.
She's got your location.
Not even that.
Oh, no?
She literally has no idea where I'm at right now.
Oh, okay.
Zero clue. Like, she was still at work when I left. I didn't say anything to her. I was like, I just came here. Like,
oh man, yeah.
So she's gonna go home. I'm not gonna be there. And she's like, oh, he's probably either out doing stand up or this. Like,
yeah.
There's only so many things that I do.
Okay, she knows. Okay,
she kind of gets where she gets the idea of where I'm at, but she doesn't know specifically.
Okay,
so.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I guess I check in with so many people. Like I check in with like my family. Like we have a whole group chat that like I'll be like, it'll be 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll be like, I'm home. I'm home. I'm home. And if I don't call the next day, I've got my mom, my dad, my sister, and they're like all up my ass.
Is it
like,
just on long trips, or you do that like every night?
I do it like most nights. Like most nights, I'll do it. Like I'll text them that I'm here. I text them that I got into Cleveland. All right. And I've just kind of, I've got used to checking in with people.
If I'm driving longer than an hour, my mom wants to know whether or not I got there safe.
Yeah.
That's about it.
It's a very similar experience. Arabs and Latinos. We're living the same, like our moms.
Well, I think most cultures, there's just so many similarities between most cultures that like, it's no wonder. If you go back far enough, we're all from the same place.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think though that we have something similar though when it comes like specifically to Arabs and Latinos, because like we're always late. we're hairy people. Like
yes.
we have the potential to be very hairy people. My hair, it's not on my face. It collected on my lower back. That's where it went for me. But like it's I don't know. Like
Do you get accused of being angry when you're like, no, I was just talking?
Yeah,
like,
I people ask me it's very common. They're like, why are you shouting? Why are you shouting right now? And I'm like, I'm so excited. I just want you to know. And and then I use the same exact thing on my sister. Like when she's getting a little loud and excitable, I'll be like, why are you so Puerto Rican right now? And she loses it, and it's good. It's good with it. It's the type of sibling rivalry.
How many siblings do you have? Just a sister?
I have one biological sister, and then like we have like one adoptive sister, and that one's funny because she's blonde and she's got blue eyes, and so I would introduce her as like my sister, and people would just like be like, okay, so like she's adopted.
She's
clearly
legitimately adopted?
She's not legitimately adopted, but like one day we just kind of like she was the kid who was next door, and so like our family just kind of adopted her into ours. I have a
sister like that too.
Yeah. And so like we have Christmases together, and then like we'll go take Santa Claus photos together, and it's like me, my sister, and then my little sister who's blonde, and it's the funniest Christmas photos ever.
Sometimes I feel like on this podcast I talk about my sister Mallory more than I talk about my actual sister.
Oh,
like my biological sister.
Yeah. I mean, my little sister's gonna be a doctor. My older sister, I don't know what she does, but I know it's for a nonprofit, and so it's hard to beat stories with my little sister because like, all right, she tells stories where like a firecracker went off on this kid's hand, and she just like works in different worlds. Yeah, it's like she's got medical emergencies, and my sister's talking about donations. Older sister's talking about donations. She's got a great job. I'm very proud of her, but like the firecracker in the hand, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's hard to match that kind of excitement. And my brother's a a physical therapist.
Oh.
So my mom's happy that she got one doctor in the family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then that's all you really
It
need.
counts.
It takes the attention off you. It's great. I love
Cool.
it. I'm happy for him. He's,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's good at what he does. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah. Maybe you'll get hurt and maybe you'll have to see him. Hopefully not.
Already
because
hurt,
we're talking about how we're cracking and
Yeah.
and creaking, and so
I'm already hurt, and I probably should have called him about it. But the last time I called him about like a pain I was having, he told me it was probably a blood clot. So I went to the ER, and it just ruined my whole day, and it ended up being nothing.
Oh.
It was just like a pain.
Just a pain from life.
Yeah, and so I don't want to bring something up that might not be serious. Like it's just a knee pain. Yes, it's been lingering on for some time now, but like I don't want to go back to the hospital like that again. Like I've got something scheduled. It's coming up. Probably I'm going to talk to my doctor. He's going to schedule me an MRI. It's going to go at a good steady pace. Not this like you need to go to the ER immediately. You're going to die. Like that's pretty much what he made me feel like.
I think that, you kind of get your family's, influence in your head, and then you're like, oh, you're right. I am going to die at any second.
Yeah. Well, he's much smarter than me. So
at
least I assumed, but
I don't know.
As it turns out, he doesn't know shit.
Do you know who shouldn't be comedians are doctors?
No, they should not be comedians.
Have you ever had like a doctor that's been like, I'm going to tell, they ask you what you do, and then they're like, I'm going to try to be funny right now.
My doctor has never done that, thankfully. But he has seen me perform.
Yeah.
But wasn't allowed. And I've never actually seen him without a mask.
Oh.
So if he's out, he doesn't wear a mask.
Okay.
So I have no idea what he looks like.
Wait, so you can only tell if he's wearing like a mask?
If he were wearing a mask, I'd probably tell who he is.
Well, okay. So, wow.
But he's seen me perform at Hilarities a couple times and just never mentioned that's who he was. Oh. Never says hello, nothing. Wow. I don't know if it's like maybe he's not supposed to. I don't know. He's not like a therapist. Like you can't ask your therapist how their day's going. I do that all the time to my therapist, and they look at me like I'm the dumbest person because they know they can't answer that.
Yeah. I remember one time I was in like speech therapy as a kid, and I saw my therapist like out. Like we were like both visiting Chicago at the same time. Like and so I was like, Dr. Duncan? Like I was 8 years old, and he's like with his family. He's like, how are you doing? And I was just like, I don't know.
He invoiced you?
He invoiced me for that time. Yeah. He's like, that hello was $50.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. My mental health needed it, I guess, at 8 years old.
So you went to a speech therapist when growing up?
Yeah, I went to a speech therapist.
Did you have a stutter or lisp?
I had trouble maintaining eye contact, and so that was different. Like I couldn't I couldn't like look at people in the eyes really all that much. I was very nervous, and then when I would talk with people, I would very commonly not use context when I was telling a story. Like I wouldn't set it up at the beginning. I was like a 6-year-old telling a story like a Quentin Tarantino film because I was all over the place. Yeah. And it made no sense at all. And so that's what I had to go for speech therapy for. Yeah.
Interesting. What were you diagnosed with?
Asperger's. Yeah. And then they changed it, which is kind of shit if you know.
They changed it?
They changed Asperger's because now it's just autism.
News to me.
Now it's just autism. It's just generic brand autism, and so that's kind of lame. It doesn't. I don't know.
I mean, I guess it feels like they kind of had to, considering the name. The name was too comical.
The name was too. It was. Yeah, it was hard to spell. Definitely. And
you think of Asperger's.
Yeah.
Like a burgers on somebody's ass.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time.
Hungry.
I'm a man child.
I would get hungry. Yeah. Every single time.
You like to eat ass. Who doesn't?
It's 2024.
Yeah, we're alive.
I lived through a pandemic.
It's the least you.
Is that gonna kill me? I'm not afraid.
I think of all the dietary choices that we've made in our lives, I think that's the one we can put on the back burners as things to worry about. But how long were you in speech therapy for?
God, I probably about like 4 or 5 years. Yeah, that was
From what age to what age?
probably like 7 to like 12 years old, something like that. And
Did you struggle in school at all?
yeah. I didn't know that I was in special ed courses. It took
Really?
it took me a while to figure that one out, which is kind of embarrassing considering that everybody else was like severely physically handicapped as well. And so I was, in that class rocking it, finishing all the writing assignments, first place, and then
You're like,
I
I'm the
did.
smartest person.
I'm the
alive.
smartest person in special needs course. I'm fucking balling. Yeah.
He's like, dude, I got blue all day long.
Yeah,
you know
man.
What blue is? Fucking, you show me some blue, I can point it out.
Absolutely, yeah.
You spell it too, BLUE. That's
Yeah.
right, motherfuckers. I had to think about it for a second. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. You got to spell it out.
I had to think about it for a minute there.
Yeah.
I had my brain skipped, and I was like, okay, how does this end?
There are simple words that, I'm getting. I think since I've been out of college, I think I'm kind of, I've regressed. This isn't the peak educational Victor that you're speaking with, but I think it was definitely probably like after studying abroad where I had to like think in Spanish. I had to think what I was going to say before. And that was probably the highest point of education that I was at. But yeah, now I think I'm going downhill.
I do somewhat suspect that like my parents just never told me that I am slow. Because I do notice certain things in my life where I'm just kind of like late to develop. In a sense, like. So I think that's probably why I got homeschooled.
Yeah.
Because they pulled me and all of my siblings out.
Yeah.
So.
All at the same time?
At the same time.
But you had each experienced school for at least a little.
Actually, that's not true. Yeah. My brother never went to school.
Oh.
He was a purebred homeschooler.
Oh, my God.
And, he only was homeschooled. My sister and I my sister only went to kindergarten, and I went to first grade, and then second grade they pulled me out. Or the second grade I went to homeschooling, and then until like my sophomore year of high school. But like, I kind of do feel like there was probably something there, and I also too was dead. I know at the very least I was diagnosed ADD, and now it's ADHD, but they didn't want to make sure I didn't end up on drugs the rest of my life. I think is really what they were.
Which ones did you get? You remember?
They wanted to put me on Ritalin.
Ritalин's terrible.
Yeah.
God.
But now I'm on Adderall.
Generic?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wait, I'm not gonna afford the name brand.
No.
We're comics.
Yeah. I do. Yeah. I
if
do.
I ain't gonna afford it all, it's a miracle.
It's good for you. Good for you. Yeah. I just took a Adderall pill from 2022.
Nice.
Still works.
Yeah.
Still works fine. It was a little bit late to the reaction, but I got it. I needed to focus a little bit earlier on this month.
Oh, this month?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a month ago?
It was like a month ago.
Oh, you're fine. You're saying it like you got a problem.
No.
Shit.
I mean, it was prescribed to me. I just forgot to take it a while ago. And I know, like, I was looking at the prescription bottle and I was like, I forgot to fill my prescription. Like, I just needed, some Adderall to focus.
Sure.
And so the only stuff that I had lying around was like this really old bottle from 2022. And it was like old because like I knew when I opened it up, like it was like so powdery in there that like I opened the jar and it was like.
Was the orange ones?
It was blue. They're blue pills. Yeah.
Oh, so you take 10 milligrams.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So
I take the 20s. I take the oranges.
20 ones. Yeah. Yeah. It's my heart. Is that ever done that for you? It ever speeds up your heart too much?
No.
Oh man. I think it's probably because I have a bad heart to begin with. But I nearly faint sometimes if I get like too much Adderall. It's
interesting.
Yeah. It
I've never had that issue. It doesn't even speed me up. It just kind of mellows me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
It's like when you drink too much coffee. You know what I mean? Where it
No,
makes
I
you...
avoid coffee too.
Oh, really?
I avoid like all stimulants. I don't drink.
Crazy.
I don't drink.
Really?
Yeah, if I have too much coffee, it'll A, get my heartbeat going, but then B, I'll be like just bouncing off the walls, and I can't, like, Jim Carrey in Yes Man, when he just has too much Red Bull. It's like
Gotcha.
that. It's really just obnoxious.
Yeah, there's been times where I drank so much coffee that it lost its effect to a point where like it made me tired.
No.
No.
I've never had that. I've taken a 5-hour energy one time, like right before an exam, because I was out the night before, and I thought I was gonna have a panic attack in the middle of this
So
exam.
you're very sensitive to
I'm
uppers.
super sensitive, yeah, to really like, I don't know, anything. I don't drink all that much. If I have like a drink when I'm out, I'll have like a single whiskey that will like
Wow.
last me most of the night, and then
Have you ever dealt with any kind of like substance abuse? Of any
no,
kind?
no. I think I wouldn't say I had any like problems. I would like smoke a cigarette, after I was
The
drunk.
way you said it sounded like
No.
you very rarely have smoked in your life.
Oh yeah, it was always like a drunken cigarette that I would have, and then it would make me feel terrible the next day. I wasn't like a huge drinker like in college. I liked going out, but if I had more than like 2 drinks, like I was a very big lightweight, and so it was never about drinking for me. It was just kind of about going out, and yeah. But
So what? How do you feel like that speech therapist did it help you through a lot of social situations? And like, so how old were you when you stopped doing it?
Probably about 12 years old.
12? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So right before junior high, do you feel like you were able to
Should
socially
have kept
hang?
going. I should have kept going, man. Junior high
Why'd
was.
you stop?
I think I moved. I think I moved again,
Oh,
and so yeah, like I stopped going to speech therapy. But I don't know. I feel like everyone just like thinks that they were awful in middle school, but like I I had like the displeasure of like finding like an old journal where I was like talking about how stupid like student council was from middle school, and I was like, this guy needed more friends. This guy, I was like, he had,
interesting. I never journaled, so I think that was one favor I did myself.
yeah, it was the speech therapist's fault. Yeah, he had me journal.
Oh, he had you journaling.
He had me journal it so I could like write down my thoughts, at least like if I was like from my own head, write down clearly like what it was.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think what also helped was having to move so many different times. Like before I graduated high school, I think I've been to like 6 or 7 different like schools.
Why did you guys move around so much?
So my dad's an industrial designer, and when we would move somewhere, he would like we would have like a temporary housing sometimes in a different school district. So I think we only ever moved actually like 3 different times. But then within those separate times, we would be at like different school districts for a time.
Oh,
And so, yeah, sometimes I would not like where it was that I was at school, and then I would get out of there, and I don't know. It was
interesting. So you would still have friends at the old school,
sometimes, yeah.
and they're close enough where you can still maintain those relationships in a sense.
Yeah. I just visited one of my oldest friends. I think we met in like 7th grade, and I graduated from another school, but I got to go visit her and her family in Denver, and they were super kind to host me, and I love them to death. They're just all a bunch of hot messes, and I love them so much.
That's awesome.
But yeah, the moving time and again, like just repeatedly, I think it kind of got me used to kind of doing it almost prepared me for stand up, because now you move around so much, you have to meet all these different people, and introductions are kind of important sometimes, and I don't know, in the comedy scene,
Sure.
it's
Do you feel like you're better with strangers now than you are with people you've known for a long time, or like
Um,
close friends?
Close friends. If I'm better with them, I don't know. I feel like I'm better like at interacting with strangers now. I'm more used to it, but I like I think hanging out with old friends still. I think if I have the ability to call them old friends, it was like for a reason. I've
Mm-hmm.
kept that person in my life because we've have similar personalities or similar things that we do, and so hanging out with old friends, yeah, just getting to reminisce on certain parts of our lives. That's kind of cool too. I think it's actually better than like new people, but uh,
Yeah, sometimes because there's that familiarity, and then
hmm
those little like inside jokes are fun,
yeah,
or like just little quirky things that you have with like older friends that
hmm
and then as opposed to like just strangers. But sometimes I feel like I don't know. I feel like I can say more to strangers because
yeah,
they aren't going to hold on to the burden of that knowledge.
yeah. You could be more honest with someone anonymous or that you
Sure.
don't think you'll ever meet again. I think that there's a certain
Because like, or like sometimes you can be a lot more fearless when you're around. Like, I'm definitely a lot more fearless on the road
hmm
than I am at home
performing in Cleveland.
performing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I know that whatever happens in Cleveland, that's going to stay there in Cleveland. That's where I live. Where if
yeah,
I have a shit night in like Iowa or some shit like that,
yeah,
I'm leaving Iowa and I'm probably never see any of those people ever
yeah,
again.
yeah.
So who gives a shit?
Hmm. Yeah. Kind of like that don't shit where you eat thing.
It's nice.
Yeah.
But then, you have to do stand up where you live. And you have to work out the bad shit where you live because this way when you leave, you're going to be a stronger comic for it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to only see the good parts.
Mm-hmm.
Where everyone else in your hometown have seen all they've seen the full process.
Yeah.
And sometimes people make assumptions about you and then you just stay that way in their minds and there's just no way to change that once they've made their mind up about you. I
Yes.
know that there's certain people like that about me,
Yeah.
or at least maybe that's an insecurity. I mean, maybe I'm projecting
No,
an
I mean, as a
insecurity.
comedian, you always have to worry. Like, I think, all right, so if I go into a new comedy scene, I try to start with some of my stronger jokes
Mm-hmm.
because, like, I want people to think like, oh, this guy's good.
Mm-hmm.
If you see someone doing new jokes sometimes for the first time and they're like not practiced, sometimes people are just gonna immediately make that assumption like, oh, this guy's just not funny, period. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is important to
Yeah, especially up top.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna do material, you do it in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Always do it in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
They'll never remember what you say.
Yeah.
They'll very rarely remember who you are
Yeah.
and your name, but they will always remember how they felt. And the vision of you will always be connected to that feeling. There's no getting around that anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing they'll ever remember is how they felt. And if you can if you can have them starting feeling good and you can leave them feeling good,
Mm-hmm.
that's all they'll remember of you. Everything in the middle is just a wash.
Okay, so this past weekend I hosted for the Detroit House of Comedy, and it was 5 shows. It was one on Friday, 3 on Saturday, and then another. It was like a House of Comedy like adjacent showcase, just at a different location. And so it was the beginning show I remember, and the last show that were my best shows. But I remember thinking like, at least it's good. Like the middle one, I didn't think that it was my best performance, but it happened in the middle, so it was like at least they can remember that. Like, all right, my very first show and my very last show were good, and so that's exactly the same way like you were saying, like to build a comedy set, like you kind of have to have the beginning and the ending good to at least remember, but overall, it's how you made the person feel
Right.
doing stand up while you were doing stand up.
Yeah, you have to get them up top,
Mm-hmm.
so they know they can trust you to be funny.
Yeah.
And they'll allow you those liberties in the middle there. But
Yeah.
you have to leave strong.
Yes.
You have to leave. It was kind of like, I never was really a big sports guy, but I played like little league sports, and like you always leave the dugout the way you found it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was always the rule. You leave the dugout the way you found it. And I feel that it's the same way with comedy. You leave that stage the way you found it.
Yes.
If that's all you you show up and it's shitty and you get off stage and it's still shitty, not your fault.
Yeah.
But if you get on that stage and it's good and you leave it shitty, you fucked up.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All you can do is just leave that stage the way you found it. That's all you can do.
Little League. That's another good analogy. Yeah.
I like analogy. I'm a big fan of analogies.
I see that. I see that. You're bringing stuff back for me. Little League, playing baseball. Man, there was this kid on my team. His dad was the baseball coach. He used to yell at us like he was this like 6'5", just giant of a man, and he'd be like, "Y'all running like a bunch of field fairies," and it was just and I'm like, this is the early thousands. This is it was still really that's wrong.
Or for one of my little league teams, our coach was the 1980 Rookie of the Year, Joe Charbonneau, and Joe Charbonneau was famous for eating light bulbs and karate chopping cinder blocks. So like the first day of like our practices or training camp,
Yeah.
the first thing he did was karate chop a fucking cinder block. Scared the fucking piss out of a bunch of like 11-year-olds.
Because you think he's Superman.
Yeah,
you're like,
what
dude, this
the
guy's
fuck?
insane.
He's like, that's how tough we're gonna be for the rest of the season. That was his opening statement. I've known this guy for 5 seconds, and I've shit my pants.
He's like trying to train you to be super soldiers. That's so cool.
My dad loved him. My dad thought he was the greatest guy who ever lived.
Oh.
He thought that was amazing. One time we lost. I mean, this is back when they still would keep score.
Yeah, before.
And you could lose by a large margin back then.
Before
and
they
we
would
did
stop?
one game. Yeah. Oh, I don't even know if they stopped. I think we had to play the game 9 innings, and we just got annihilated. I think it was like 11-1.
Oh man.
It was brutal.
Okay.
Like we got destroyed, and at the end of the ninth inning, he ate a light bulb the whole time, and he said that we played so badly that he's gonna shit blood tonight.
You're like, maybe that's the light bulb, man. You can't blame us for that. Wow, I don't know who he was punishing for that.
I don't either. It was psychological warfare being played on me. That's when I realized it's like, oh, like these people don't know what they're doing.
No. Adults?
Adults have
Are you talking
idea.
about these people?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
Adults don't know what they're doing.
No. What is, can you recall the worst like decision you've made probably as an adult? I think mine happened recently, which is,
Dude, I love this question. Keep going. I'm gonna think while you're.
Okay, so my adult decision that I did recently that I completely regret was going to a new barber without doing like a background check
Sure.
on people. I don't know. I went to a barber recently. It was in Austin, and this was like a month ago. So I've gotten like 2 months ago. So I've gotten a few haircuts since then. But going in to a new place and thinking, this is gonna sound terribly racist, that people I guess maybe like speak English right away.
Sure.
Okay, because like I went to this place. It was a Hispanic barber shop. I started speaking in English, and I kind of went through what it was I was trying to get done, and then this has happened to me more than once where I've gone to a new barber and I've gotten my hair messed up before a very big show, And so I think that's the dumb adult decision that I don't prepare enough sometimes, is that like I don't know, I'll get haircuts before very big life moments, like, and they're always bad haircuts somehow.
I'm trying to think of the dumbest decision I made as an adult.
Okay, now that you say that sentence again, that's not nearly good enough.
Yeah, I was going to say
Story.
that's pretty.
It's pretty low key.
I mean, if that's your biggest, then you've
No.
led a great life, my friend. And you shouldn't be ashamed of that by any means.
No, okay, all right. I'll think of something. I'll think of something, because that's easily not the worst thing or the dumbest thing.
The dumbest thing that I think I've ever done as an adult was probably so. Me and a roommate decided to trip on acid while watching Fire in the Sky, that alien movie. But with the sound off, listening to Kid A from Radiohead, and also doing Whippets. Oh, that was a pretty dumb night. That was a pretty dumb decision.
Ow.
Something I regret though, like, man, that is tough. I mean, maybe I've had a better life than I thought, because I am.
Yeah, if you don't have any like other regrets, I'm like, all right, maybe I would have traveled more. Traveled a little bit more.
Yeah, but you've traveled quite a bit.
I've traveled a bit. Yeah, for someone.
Been to other countries.
I've been to other countries now. I've been. I think
you've been overseas.
I've been overseas. Yeah, I've been to Europe.
There you go.
Been to South
That's
America.
More I can say.
Yeah.
I haven't been off this continent.
I met somebody.
I've been to Canada. I've been to Mexico. I've been in, obviously, the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
This is all I've known.
Yeah. Oh. I met someone recently when I was doing some shows out in Denver. He never has left Colorado. Never left Colorado. In Wyoming, like, it's only 2 hours to the nearest border. I mean, you're in the center of the state, but like, it's easy to visit Wyoming in an afternoon. You could make a day trip out of it. And I'm like, how old are you? He's like 37. I think he was 37. He'd never been out of state.
Well, it's so crazy to hear that about somebody in another place other than Cleveland.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of Clevelanders who've never gone anywhere outside of Cleveland or the Northeast Ohio area.
Really?
Yes. I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of them have never left or gone anywhere other than Northeast Ohio. Why do you think our airport's so shitty? People don't leave here.
Because no one's coming to Cleveland?
Yeah, well, no one's coming here, and nobody's leaving here.
No.
So there's very little traffic at the airport.
No.
Yeah. So what's the point of having a really nice airport when there's not being utilized? I mean, people come here, but they're trying to leave as quickly as possible.
I love Cleveland. Do you know one of the best empanada places
Don't tell anybody, because then they're going to start coming here.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Empanadas.
You like empanadas?
I love empanadas here. There's this.
Really?
Yeah. There's
all
this
things.
I know.
Not expect that.
It's I think it's a Mexican Cuban. They serve Cuban sandwiches. I might be making this stuff up.
Empanadas are in my opinion, the Spanish pierogi.
Oh, wow.
That's what it is to me.
I don't know how no. It's close. I see what you're saying.
The shape.
But then, like, what do you see dumplings and you're like, that's a pierogi too?
No. The pierogi is like, it's folded.
Yes.
And it's got things in the middle. Mm-hmm. Dumplings most of the time don't have things in the middle.
No.
They're just like kind of amongst a sauce or a meat, or a combination of both things.
Oh man, I'm hungry now again.
Empanada is like a package. It's like a calzone in a sense.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm hungry again. We're talking about. You saw how big that piece of pizza was.
It was It was a good sizable slice.
They gave me this huge box of for the pizza. The one like a full box for one slice of pizza, but it took up most of it.
It warranted that big of a box.
It did.
That's how big of a slice it was. It warranted a larger than normal box.
Gosh,
Um,
maybe that's my mistake. That's my biggest mistake as an adult. Yeah, I can say that now because I'm lactose intolerant. That's not going to mess me up. But I've had full like milkshakes and then pizza and then like
oh,
a smorgasbord of cheeses
yeah.
and then
Yeah, I did that recently.
yeah. Are you lactose intolerant too?
I don't know if I've been diagnosed as that, but I know sometimes dairy can hit me the wrong way sometimes. And then
Yeah.
I went hard on some blizzards.
Oh, blizzards from Dairy
Oh yeah,
Queen.
dude, it was amazing.
Those are so good. Which one do you have?
I got the chocolate cherry one. Yeah, it's got like chocolate and cherry chunks in it too. Oh man, it was amazing.
I'm gonna have to see if
It was
Dairy.
so
Do you think
good.
Dairy Queen's still open? What time is it? It's only 11:45.
Uh,
It's a wee bit early.
yeah. Um, how many different places do you guys live in? Then you said about 6, right?
Yeah. So we moved.
Was it different states too?
Yeah, we
Oh,
moved from
okay.
Chicago to Wisconsin, Wisconsin to Cincinnati, and then we moved around in Cincinnati, and then to Toledo. We moved around there, and now moving back to Chicago. Weird.
Is that where your parents are living now?
No, my parents are living in Toledo. My
Oh,
parents
okay.
yeah. I'm moving away again, so it's interesting.
The place where Michigan lost the war.
Yeah. Did they though?
No, that's where they tricked in Ohio into thinking they won.
I know. It's all right. Toledo's all right if you were 60 years old.
Sure, yeah,
And you just want to bird watch, you want to go fishing out in some waders and
yeah. If you want to live in a somewhat metropolitan area, but quickly get out to the woods area, I guess
it's not bad.
you can tell I'm a city person through and through.
Do you have any experience with any of the parks and metro areas here in Cleveland? Because I've seen so many good parks.
Yeah,
from
yeah.
other.
The metro parks are nice, and it's very woodsy. Is that a thing?
It is. It is the
Woodsy?
thing. Woodsy is the description.
Okay, then yeah, it's woodsy.
Full of
It's
woods.
of nature.
It's of the nature.
Yes,
It is the green.
It has nature.
It is the green.
Yeah, it's not a shopping mall. Though there are places where you can buy memorabilia.
At the
So-
shopping mall?
Not the shopping mall, but there's places in the metro parks where you can buy metro park themed memorabilia.
Oh, man.
Which is fun. You gotta admit that was pretty fun. It's a good time.
I like it.
So what group of, this is my favorite question to ask
Okay.
most
Yeah.
guests. What group of friends did you have in high school?
Oh. I had...
Like what group did you roll with?
I was the theater kid in high school. I don't think I hung out with like all the theater kids. Like I hung out with this like group of theater kids that was like it was mixed. It was like part of them were tech from the musicals and stuff like that, and then the other part were, the rest
Performers.
were performers and then the choir and stuff like that. And yeah, I loved hanging out with theater kids because we all would be so used to staying late for shows in preparation, and you kind of just hanging out with these people after school, eating so much popcorn, just waiting for a show to start. Those memories I loved in theater, and they were also some of the most inappropriate kids in school, like just like sexually frustrated kids. I thought that was hilarious too, growing up.
What was the favorite place that you lived in?
Ooh, I think
I mean, as a child. Like,
yeah.
not now.
As a child, I think I liked living in Wisconsin. Like I liked the place that I lived there. It was a village, like because it was so small. I think it had like 2,006 residents by the time we left.
Wow,
And
that is insanely small.
It was super small, and so like we had 24 per graduating class that were there. The the entire village would come to the graduation ceremonies like every single year.
Wow.
Like they would come on out, and it was a very nice, pretty area in Wisconsin, but yeah, it was super small, and so like I visited now as an adult, and there's like not much to do, but like as a kid, you know, it had lakes and ponds for me to fish in, and
See, I'd be totally lost.
yeah,
I'm a city kid.
yeah,
I wouldn't know what to do. When we'd visit my dad's reservation,
mm-hmm.
they would get me like a 4-wheeler and I'd just ride around on the 4-wheeler.
Oh.
But now that I think of it, now that I'm older, I did stick to a lot of like the city like area.
Yeah.
I didn't take it out to the woods
No.
or like into nature.
You were on the streets or on the sidewalks?
Yeah, stuff like that. Or like would go to like the gas station. Things like that. Or like go to like the grocery store.
Riding around, sunglasses.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hip as fuck, dude.
I was never so cool. On a 4-wheeler?
On a 4-wheeler because you could ride them there at any age.
Man, my parents would never let me get on a 4-wheeler when I was a kid.
Yeah, I was shocked. And then for some reason they wouldn't let me get my license until I was like closer to 18. So that makes no sense. Maybe I was irresponsible on that 4-wheeler.
Was it like a motorcycle or 4-wheeler? You said 4-wheeler. So you didn't drive a motorcycle, but like your license for your car?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me get my license until I was like almost 18.
Oh. Okay.
So it wasn't like, 16 now, you can go and get your temps or whatever.
Yeah.
I had to wait.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that's another reason I'm like, interesting. I'm the only of my siblings that waited.
Yeah.
That had to wait.
Mm-hmm.
I'm none of these people. There's something fishy going on here, and I want to get to the fucking bottom of it.
I was not the favorite. I was...
Oh, yeah. If they were a favorite to be had, I would definitely not make the cut. It's definitely a toss-up between my brother and my sister. I'd say my sister because because she gave them 5 grandchildren.
Oh, that's unfair. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
My parents are judging their love for me and my sisters based on how much money we bring in.
So you're the least favorite?
I am no. So technically, I mean, even though I'm a comedian, I still have a younger sister who's starting to become a doctor. And so, you know, as a comedian and as someone who's just kind of going through medical school, we make the same amount.
For now.
For now.
Yeah.
For now, you know, I think it's funny though because she's still got like, you know, $200 whatever $1,000 of
that's why I don't believe
debt.
Unless you're like a billionaire or like somebody like Jeffrey Bezos or Elon Musk type or like a George Soros.
Yeah.
You're not really rich. You're just capable of getting more money than me.
Yeah.
You're more capable of borrowing more money than I. You have more access to money than I do.
Yeah, why is it that
no one's really that rich.
No.
They're just in more debt or they're able to attain more debt than I can.
Yeah. Yeah, that is it. More debt. God.
So unless you're those people, I don't think that you're truly rich. And I don't really believe in I'm very skeptical of how rich some people are because when you get that wealthy, you can tend to get irresponsible with money, and there's zero consequences for it. I mean, look at Elon Musk with X or whatever, and that was not a great business decision, and it's still not it's not a money maker for him. None of his businesses are money makers for him, really.
Wow, you think?
I know. Like Tesla's not doing great. Their stock tanked several different times in the last like several months. They had to fire a fuck ton of people.
Oh.
They did the same thing at X. That Burrow project that he has, the Bohr project.
Oh,
that's a big fucking disaster. That they're supposed to build some tunnel in Vegas, and you can only drive Teslas in this tunnel that gets you around Vegas. That's nowhere close to being done.
Is that the underground one?
Yeah.
I
know
like,
there's
just beneath, like the city, beneath the city.
Yeah, I know there's sections of it open, but it's not completed.
I remember hearing about that, and all I could think about was that scene in I, Robot. Do you remember with like Will Smith when all those like robots were like jumping in on him?
Yeah.
God, that movie.
That's probably not far off what might happen to that situation because he's an idiot. He's just a rich asshole.
Another rich asshole.
Which is funny because I was just thinking about this the other day about how like if we get invaded by aliens, we're getting invaded by some other species rich assholes because they had the resources and the money
to travel. Yeah,
to travel that distance.
It would be very ironic.
Because our millionaires now have been tasked or they've tasked themselves into exploring space and to travel through space.
Yeah.
That has been their main goals. Well, there's a thing behind it is that they're trying to find water and be able to travel to receive that water. Because if they can find that water on other planets, that's basically finding gold.
Yeah. I've seen some of those videos where they're also trying to nuke the poles of Mars.
What?
Let's just send bombs up there.
Yeah, that
send
makes
bombs
sense.
Up there for it.
Yeah, it worked out so great here. What's the worst? There's nobody living there. Who could it harm? You can't have any. There could be no repercussions.
We're not ready for another Earth.
I don't think that we will receive another Earth. I think we're stuck with the one we got, and any aliens that might come here is only because they've depleted the resources that they have. Yeah. And they're only coming here to deplete us from or share in what our resources that we have. Yeah. That's the only reason they've come here. Yeah. And odds are good they're not going to kill us. They don't have to kill us. Because one of them's going to sneeze.
And then that's how they'll do it.
To use scientific or sci-fi terms, one's going to blorp. And that bacteria will be so foreign. I don't know. I made that up right now.
It's great. I was like, is that a fucking science fiction term? I believed it.
I made it up. They're going to blorp, and our bodies will be unable to handle that bacteria. Yeah. And it'll just wipe us completely out from that disease.
That'll be very ironic.
Yeah, considering that's what happened to Native Americans.
As an American that is brown. Just someone sneezing on me is what takes me out. That's great. Yeah. Irony comes all the way around.
Sure. What goes around comes around, right? Those with the phrases.
That's so funny. At least I'm not the alien for like once in this exact scenario.
What was the city? What was one of the cities that you lived in where you were thankful you guys left? Oh. And why?
Also Wisconsin. It was one of my favorite. It was my favorite, but it was because like there were I could ride my bike around all the time. I liked the parks there, but also it was like a very judgmental town. Like I don't know. Like I
can't imagine there was a lot of brown people there.
No. They thought that I was black for like. This is 100% true. They thought I was black for like a month and a half.
That's amazing.
And then, we had a tennis coach that my mom would send us to, and that tennis coach, he was Kenyan, and so there was an actual black kid that arrived one day out of the blue, and I lost my status as coolest minority at that school. I was black for a month, and then I went back to being just boring old Mexican.
Well, at least you still get to say the N-word. Most Mexicans do, which is odd, and they get away with it.
I don't. I hear it sometimes. I hear it in comedy shows sometimes, and I'm like, you're right. That person did get away with saying the N-word. I'm like.
Yeah, I don't see you getting away with it.
I don't. No, listen to my voice. Right. I have zero credibility.
And your dad's Ecuadorian,
Ecuadorian.
and your mother's Mexican. What I'm trying to get at is where are you from?
Yeah.
What are you?
I'm a Gemini.
What kind are you?
Okay, so my mom is Mexican and Ecuadorian.
Okay.
My dad is Puerto Rican, Japanese, and Mexican.
Wow.
Yes, that's all the things we are.
Wow, what a mix.
Yep.
It's fascinating. Now, when you're around like your Hispanic family, because you're like in a sense half or whatever, do you feel like they? So I'm half Native American, half Arab.
Yeah.
So when I'm around the Arab family, I'm Native American. When I'm around the Native American family, I'm Arab. I'm always the other thing.
Okay.
To them.
Yeah.
Because I'm not enough of what they are to be that thing.
Yeah.
So when they see me, they see an Arab guy.
Yeah.
And when my Arab side sees me, they see a Native American.
Yeah. How do they see me? Who sees me as what?
You may not have that problem like I do, but
People. Okay, so the Japanese side of the family married the Puerto Rican side of the family, and that's how you got my grandmother. We call her this little Japarican, right? She married a Mexican and then had my dad, Japarican, Mexican, my father. And so I like hearing these stories of like how our cultures mixed and how I got to this impossible combination of people who should never have met and
I love it.
Or interacted really. Like the Japanese and then the Puerto
Where
Rican.
did your family originate from? Like, I mean, like in the States.
Yeah, so my grandmother on my mom's side is from Texas, and then the other part, the Japanese part, they used to live in California.
Fascinating. So how did your parents end up in Toledo? Where did your parents grow up?
They grew up in Chicago as well. The whole family is from Chicago.
Wow.
We moved around a whole bunch as kids. It was nice though. I liked being from Chicago and then kind of having that city mindset whenever I would go anywhere, because like Chicago was such a big city that everything else after that became small and just kind of chill and relaxed to me. But man, I'm happy to be moving back. I don't know.
So where are you living currently?
I have all of my stuff in my parents' attic right now.
In Toledo.
So, in Toledo. Yeah. That's
Toodly-doo.
Yeah. It's at the end of the month I'll be moving back in to Chicago. I have an apartment, and it'll be like I said, my very first time living by myself. But
where were you living before you moved your stuff back to your parents' house?
I was living with my with an ex of mine. So I just
where at though?
In Toledo as well.
Oh.
I was living in Toledo. Yeah. So that's why it was very
fascinating.
It was very easy to stay in the area. It was very easy to move my things back home momentarily, and now we were sharing like an apartment, and so.
What do you think ultimately was the demise of the relationship? Look, I blindsided you with that. I zigged and zagged on that one,
man.
baby.
Where are you from? I mean, like, where are your parents from?
How'd you ruin your relationship?
When did she stop loving you? Oh man. I don't. That's a good one. I think, you know what? I think I love getting into relationships with women that are like nearly perfect for me, except for like one blaring flaw that would probably not make things work. And I think for this last one, it was probably the fact that like I wanted kids.
Really?
Yeah.
You wanted the kids.
I want kids. I think okay. So I wrote this new joke. Now that I'm single again, that like I'm nearly 30 years old. I'm a Mexican American, and that's like messed up because like I should be like a grandparent by now.
There's a lot of racists in that room that would agree with you.
Yeah. And so
You
yeah.
being Mexican
Yeah.
is messed up.
Yeah.
They're like immediately on board.
They're like, yeah, it's wrong. It's wrong
There's
of you.
one guy in a MAGA hat being like, hell yeah, brother.
Oh, man. Yeah. So I think that was probably one of the big things.
Wild. It's
Wild.
not normally the man who wants the children.
Yeah, it's not. There were other things too, but you know.
Is it just for the phrase alone of like, behold my seed of my loins or something?
God.
Is that what you wanted?
No, I did want.
That wears off after a while.
I don't want to quote scripture when I'm talking to
my boy.
My boy.
Boy.
I've always wanted to say my boy like that, but
That's how my dad says it too.
Is that how he says it?
So my dad talks like a character from Fargo.
Yeah.
So, my boy.
Oh, that's cute. That's adorable.
It's funny because when I watch the movie Fargo and you hear the accents that they're doing, they're fucking spot on, dude. I'm not kidding you. They nailed it. I was floored with how good the accent was that they were doing.
Yeah. Wow. No, I want kids, but yeah.
Why?
Why? I don't know.
I would figure that out before you have children.
Okay. I think I've always wanted kids.
Was there an age difference in this relationship?
She was 3 years older than me. Yeah.
All right, go on.
Yeah. So it was now or never. You know, those eggs are gonna be a little bit hard cooked. And so.
Did you say that to her?
No.
Oh, thank God.
No.
Thank God.
I didn't.
That would have like I guess that would have changed the dynamic of our relationship. Maybe I would have looked at you differently. You're like, yeah, of course I said that to her.
No.
You're like, TikTok, bitch. TikTok.
No, these are the words actually of my mother. Because she's saying TikTok now. She's like, you need to hurry this shit up. She's like, if I had known that it was gonna take this long for me to have grandkids, like.
She doesn't have any.
She doesn't have
none of your siblings.
None of my siblings have grandkids.
God,
none
it
of
sucks.
Them have grandkids. So we're all stressing my parents out. They want to be grandparents too. My mom was showing me these super cute little baby hats, and I'm all for it. But yeah.
You know, you could just impregnate somebody.
God, no. Man. Maybe.
Maybe how quickly you turned on that.
I don't know. You're right. You know what?
Because then you don't really have to plan anything. You know what I mean? It just happened.
Yeah.
You the plan. But here's the thing: as a comic, do you think you can live because your life's over?
No.
I'm for somebody else.
Okay, as a comic, here's what I have to say. I come from a household with two loving parents, and if I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I'll ever be successful because they love me too much. And so I'm doing that kid a favor. He's gonna come from a single household. His mother's gonna love him, hopefully.
And he's going to be very funny.
And he's going to be so much better than me. He'll be stronger. He'll be faster. He'll be...
on SNL.
He'll be on SNL. He'll be the new Marcelo Hernandez. And I will... It's just... Yeah. And then I'll be like, that's my son. And I'll have lived vicariously through him, contributing nothing.
No, you contributed something. You had to raise the child. They don't just come out and then they're fully developed. You have to feed them and clothe them and make sure they don't die.
But then that's a 2-parent household, and it's too much love. I'm trying to say there needs to be one parent.
Too much nourishment.
Too much nourishment.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Too much learning of development going on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Too healthy of a household.
Oh man, I'm so tempted to ask a question of that. I don't know if it's like
We can cut it. Right?
Do your parents still love each other?
100%. It's
No, I feel you.
no,
My
no.
parents are the same way.
They're so loving to one another that like now I can't like be in an unhealthy relationship because I'm like, oh, that's what love is supposed to look like. Yeah, I thought I would be able to just like, fool myself.
So
long
they weren't
enough.
realistic with you about it. They're like, this is how you're supposed to live, or this is what it's supposed to be. See, my parents were like, yeah, we have this, but like don't expect it for yourself. Like, there's a chance that you might not have the same thing with somebody.
Oh, yeah. I guess, I don't know. My parents have been saying that to me a lot lately because they're like, fresh off of a breakup. They're like, you'll find someone else. My mom's a little bit more.
Yeah, now's not the time.
Now's not the time. They're like, you might be alone forever. No, they're not saying that right now.
They never said that I would be alone forever. They said that there's a strong chance that I might not have the same relationship as they have. Which is very realistic.
That is true. Yeah, no, you can't always find someone who, compliments you, I guess, as well as you think your parents are.
I would never want to date my parents.
No, no.
Let's be clear here.
100% not. But your parents have been together for like, how long then? Right.
40 years.
40 years, yeah. My parents have been together nearly 35 years. And so, yeah, they've
been married 40 years.
Yeah. They've been married.
Together 45 years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. My parents have been married 35. I think they've known each other for 40. And so it's crazy. I can't really conceptualize knowing someone that long right now as I guess my longest relationship. Like I've had long relationships. They've been like, I think like 5 years, 3. I'm like a serial monogamous. Like I go, I've realized I've gone from like one longer relationship to the next. But
how long was the last one?
Like almost 3 years. And so that was.
Children was a breaking point. I mean, you were.
Children was one of them.
Yes, is this something or not?
Yeah.
3 years in.
3 years in, I feel like you should probably know sooner than 3 years. What's a good point to know?
I was just talking about this
after living with someone for a year or a couple of months. I feel like you should know. I feel like living with someone is definitely necessary. Now I think
you're still in an age where you're just young enough to be in denial about it. But if you were a little older, like say for instance you were maybe 35, 3 years into a relationship, not knowing whether or not they want to have children, that would probably be you should have had that conversation by then. But you're younger, so you're 29 now, right?
Yeah. No, 28.
28. So you're 25 when you met this person. That's pretty young. And you're not really thinking about the most you're thinking about career, if that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was always thinking about that.
Wild to me. That's wild.
I mean, it was okay. So this was me as a kid too, though. Like I remember when I was like in kindergarten. Like, all right, so I joked about wanting to be a Jedi and whatnot. Like I said I also wanted to be a dad, and then they were like, because like my dad was like my best friend, and so I always thought that relationship would be like super cool, having a younger, I don't know, generation to hang out with. I think that's another reason I wanted to have kids is because I had such a good relationship with my dad. Like I said, 2-parent household, loving.
It's so funny because I mean, it's not like I have a bad relationship with my family.
Yeah.
But we're not.
You're not there?
We're not like, hey, we're going to call each other every day. I would never consider my dad my best friend.
Yeah. I don't call them every day. But yeah, I would consider him like probably one of the people that like I would.
Which is funny coming from me who was homeschooled.
Yeah.
He was the only 2 people that I really interacted with were my parents.
Yeah.
other than my siblings.
Oh, wow, yeah. And
So you'd think we would have a closer relationship, but I think maybe when you spend that much amount of time with somebody,
you can't. Yeah.
you're like kind of excited.
So who was your best friend?
I would say my cousins were my best friends growing up, easily.
Okay.
Yeah, like Brian, Chris, and Kevin were easily my best friends growing up, and we're still very close.
Okay.
It's not that, like, again, my parents and I's relationship is still good.
Mm-hmm.
It just, we have boundaries with it. Like, I could never imagine talking about sex with my dad.
Yeah.
Never in a million years would I want to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But drugs and alcohol all day long.
Drugs and alcohol are fine.
We will talk about drugs and alcohol.
Really?
Yeah, because he still drinks, but like he hasn't done drugs since he was young.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Probably 25 was the last time he had any kind of hard drug, and I'm just getting out of it. You know, I'm only 5 years deep into like I wouldn't say sobriety, but like no longer drinking or doing hard drugs.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're both at a point where we romanticize that past.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that we no longer, that's like, no longer a part of our identity now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about like the times we've done drugs, obviously not together, but like our sip, like, yeah, that would be crazy. I tried to get him to smoke weed with me once when we were in Vegas together. Because the moment we sat down on the plane, it dawned on me. I'm like, I'm going to Vegas with my dad and his buddies.
Yeah.
There's a strong possibility one of them's gonna want to go to a strip club. And it dawned on me when we got on the plane, I was like, oh shit. So I said to him immediately, which was, if you and your buddies go to a strip club, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it.
You didn't want to go to the strip club with your dad?
No way, dude. That sounds like the worst nightmare. It sounds like one of my worst nightmares, going to a strip club with my father. I'm getting sweaty thinking about it. It makes me so uncomfortable.
Do you know, I've only been to a strip club one time, and I went with my ex.
Oh.
She took me. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say with my dad.
No. No. He was just like, son, today you are a man.
I've only been in one threesome, and it was with my father.
With my father. Speaking of fathers. No.
With your ex?
It was
the last one?
The last one, yeah. She took me out to, I said, I was like, yeah, I haven't been out to a strip club yet. And she's like, let's go.
How'd you handle it?
I was such a nerd. Like, it was honestly, it was good that she was there, because like I was tipping these strippers like I was paying for groceries, because like I didn't even like put the singles in like, their G-string or whatever. Mm-hmm. I was like putting it up on the stage like it was like, No,
I totally relate to this, because I spent my first time in a strip club, all I did was talk to a stripper for way too long.
Did they charge you for the dance?
They never. She's like, if you want to, like, she's like, we have to do something.
Yeah.
Like, I can't sit here and talk to you all night.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm still not comfortable with a lap dance. So I paid her $100 to continue the conversation with me.
Oh.
And she goes, maybe like 5 minutes after I paid her, she goes, oh, I'm going to go grab my jacket. I'll be right back. And she did not come back. And I see her going into the VIP room with another gentleman. Granted, I had been talking to her for what would be the equivalent of however many lap dances. And so that $100 was justified.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel cheated there. But what she taught me was a valuable lesson of what a strip club was.
Yes.
So I may have not gotten a lap dance that night, and I may not have learned anything about the culture of a stripper, because that's what I was very interested in.
Yeah.
But she gave me the full stripper experience somehow.
Oh man, yeah, getting ripped off, kind of seeing behind the curtain. It's just
this
money.
is a transaction.
Yeah. Have you ever? Okay, I recently had some friends that were in Milwaukee. They did a stand-up show in a strip club, Have you ever had the opportunity to do one of those?
No, I would love that opportunity.
I would too. It would be hard to follow a stripper doing stand-up.
Yeah, and you think about those old. Basically, this is how stand-up started.
Yeah.
Was following nude shows. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you were the intermission.
Yeah.
You were
the guy that was like
between acts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously, I mean, like, that's how stand-up started. So now as a stand-up today, which is unlike any other time in stand-up comedy, where it's like just insane right now what's going on in comedy. Comedy is in my opinion, it's the highest it will ever has been, and I think this is the start of the descent.
Yeah,
I feel like it's
actually yes. Okay, so it did get knocked down over quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, all the Zoom shows, everyone was realizing how terrible that was.
I disagree with that because it was the only art form that was acceptable during that time.
Yes.
In a lot of places.
Yes.
Both in quarantine and most comedy clubs were still able to stay open and have performers there because you were able to keep people 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Because there's not a lot of movement happening, where if you go to a concert, there's a lot of movement involved. There's a lot of interacting with other people. Where in comedy, your only interaction was that performer. Yeah. So I think comedy got stronger because of the pandemic.
Yes. Yeah. I think the pandemic caused people to have to find ulterior ways to try to get to an audience, and then it was like kind of like the repercussions of not being able to perform for such a long time that people were, when they finally got to come together, that's when like comedy clubs started getting more packed. I think more people started posting crowd work clips. Crowd work got very popular because, I mean,
we're just shocked to see a crowd anywhere.
Yeah. People were excited to see crowds, but also, people not wanting to burn some of their jokes and just kind of rely upon crowd work. And
sure.
And I don't know.
Now it doesn't matter. Now, so just clip it up, put it out. Who gives a shit? They're not. No one cares.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? I think also, believe it or not, I think that Trump had a very beneficial thing to stand up because because the things he was saying were so deplorable. Yeah. As the president, like what we consider like one of the, this is the guy who sets the standard of decorum and how you interact. This is the biggest job in the world. Yep. And this man holds it, and he's calling people, like he's imitating them as being retarded. Yeah. Just saying these deplorable things. And so that made our jobs a lot easier because we could just go, look, I'm not the fucking president of the United States, and look what he's saying. Yeah. So what I'm saying pales in comparison to the highest office in the world. So there's very little things I like about Trump, almost nothing. But that is one thing I will say, he had a very positive effect on comedy because he was saying that he was punching down. Yeah. Where comics can't punch down. Because we are considered some of the lowest life forms.
We're lowest life forms, but we punch down.
We can punch down, but I mean, think about who we're punching.
It depends on who's talking when we're punching down. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose you're right there. But I think that's a good place to call it. Yeah. We've done almost 2 hours.
2 hours.
Probably clip it up to be an hour 45, hour 40.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
So you can find me on my Instagram. I have a link tree, which does not have an OnlyFans page, but that's coming soon. It is coming soon.
Yeah, you are single and living alone, so
you're
gonna have to show some skin, baby girl.
So you know what? I think I'm gonna be Airbnb the other place, I don't think I'm like fully committing to living alone. So I'm just gonna be living with strangers every now and then. But I've got like another bedroom that I think I'm gonna Airbnb up.
That's nice of you.
Yeah. I mean, it's another way to make rent too. But
Sure.
follow me on social media, V1P Comedy for Instagram. Linktree is connected to all social media. You can follow me on TikTok, Facebook, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Zelle. I think those are all of the ones. I'm gonna do a GoFundMe pretty soon.
Venmo.
Venmo, yeah, Venmo. Follow me on Venmo.
As always, you can follow me at. You can send all of your nudes to at Gheramy_Demery. Make sure to go to secretsocietycomedy.com to figure out where we're going to be at next. You could always check out. Make sure to follow us on Instagram as well as at Secret Society Comedy on Instagram. Also, I've been doing shows in Columbus, so follow at Casket Comedy Columbus on Instagram as well. And I have been currently working on a show that's going to be out hopefully by December. It's called Not Even Funny. It's featuring the comedian Neff Johnson in Columbus. So make sure to check out where that stuff is. Thanks, man, for doing this. Appreciate you.
This is awesome. Thanks. Great place. Great studio.
Appreciate you. Goodbye.
Bye.